Right now, as you're listening to this, more than half the internet's traffic isn't human. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's not a projection. Cloudflare, the company that routes a huge chunk of the world's internet traffic, confirmed it this year. Bots and AI agents now generate up to 57% of all web requests. Humans are the minority online. And the mainstream's response? Scan your face, hand over your ID, prove you're a person to a camera before you're allowed to speak. My guest today thinks that's the wrong answer, and he's built something to prove it. Agents now, right now, as you're listening to this, more than half the internet's traffic isn't human. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's not a projection. Cloudflare, the company that routes a huge chunk of the world's internet traffic, confirmed it this year. Bots and AI agents now generate up to 57% of all web requests. Humans are the minority online. And the mainstream's response? Scan your face, hand over your ID, prove you're a person to a camera before you're allowed to speak. My guest today thinks that's the wrong answer, and he's built something to prove it. Richard Kersey is a senior business intelligence engineer at AWS, an AI practitioner who actively designs AI-assisted engineering workflows, and the founder of Chirpper, a social network built on a radical premise. You don't give up your privacy to prove you're human. You just need somebody willing to vouch for you. On Chirpper, you have no self-registration, no real names, no moderators. Instead, every user is invited by somebody who stakes their own reputation on them. If you bring in a bad actor, that damage flows back to you. It's accountability without surveillance. And it's the first time in history of a social media platform that's inviting somebody who's It's the first time in history of social media that inviting somebody actually has consequences for the person doing the inviting. Richard, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Glad to be here and happy to talk about Chirpper.
So before we get into this, I have to ask all of my guests this one question. What is a truth in your industry that people do not want to admit?
A truth in your industry that people do not want to admit. That there is currently a glut of entry-level developers that's going to get worse for the next few years. We can see at least where there's going to be a huge gap between senior level, who everybody wants, and then entry level not getting a chance to become senior level. And so where's that gap going to get filled? We don't know.
I really hope that that's not the take that doesn't happen, because I was a junior developer. I became a senior software engineer at the end of my career. And honestly, I don't think I would have been where I was at if I had not gotten that opportunity to prove myself and showcase.
That's the problem we face. And I haven't seen any solutions for it yet. And I don't see anyone really even thinking about it.
Yeah. So I do want to get into what you're building now, Chirpper. How is it different than social media? Can you explain that to our audience?
Well, you kind of touched on it when you were doing your intro, in that it's the first place where you have some consequences involved with how you behave when you're on the site and what the actual results are of your behaviors. And currently, like you said, everybody else is with the idea that if you just give up your identity and hand over your picture and your date of birth and every other piece of vital information you have about yourself, well, then we know you're real and you get to say whatever you want. And that's just, you're giving up a lot in order to just be able to talk online. Chirpper's different in that what we're saying is, if you will accept a little bit of friction in the beginning, that you're going to have to get invited and have somebody who's already in say, this is a human, come on in with us. And once you have that little bit of friction jumped over that, now as you use the site, as you invite new people, as you post content, you have the ability to have accountability while preserving your anonymity.
In terms of pushing like bad actors and people out, how are you defining what's bad?
Well, it actually hasn't been answered completely yet. So we have philosophies around it, not really implemented designs. So right now we're kind of in the proof of concept phase, right? And we're seeing get some users in, get some network effect going, and then from there develop policies about what bad actually means. But there's some things we can say in the beginning that our policies and our philosophies are. One, AI isn't bad. It's a tool. Use it as long as you're human. And everything kind of comes back to that one big idea is just be human. We actually just recently changed the tagline on our site under the logo to just be human, because that's really what all of our moderation, all of our kind of flow of pinging someone as a bad actor comes down to, are you human or not? We're not here to police what you say. We're not here to police you being some kind of agenda that we're trying to push or anything like that. It's just, are you human or not? And we can find out that you're not human by if you're part of some network, what we call a trust chain of people who all post about a single agenda item. They all post, they all upvote together. If everybody in your trust chain is doing one thing, then most likely we're looking at a bot network, and we could say, button click, you're all gone. And that's really the economics of our system, is that it should make it economically unfeasible for you to use a bot farm to mine this site. Because as you put your network together, you use a whole bunch of invites up, you invite all these bots who are all going to work together to push a narrative. That becomes, if you get found out, if you get flagged by a high trust user, you're one button push away from your entire network going down.
You're speaking to the choir for a newly minted podcaster who's looking for reach, but also trying to stay human while doing it. One of the reasons I started this was because I was sick of hearing the generic voices of the people just pushing the same message over and over again. I wanted to have these real human conversations about what we're doing. Why did you decide to go down this route as opposed to all the other social media?
Almost exactly what you just said. I've founded some businesses before, and I've worked for companies, and whenever there's a problem, there's kind of a business that can come and solve that problem, right? Because that's what a business needs in order to exist, is a problem to solve. And like you just said, there's a lot of people like yourself who are complaining about bots online. They talk about it constantly, about how we hate that there's some corporation or some bot farm controlling everything we see and read. And now the question I have with this business is, do you really care about that? Do you really care that bots are controlling the narrative enough to switch social media networks to a new place and go through a tiny bit of friction to say that you're human? And at that point, it's humans talking to humans, and the bots are left out for the other sites.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm writing a book about this topic right now. Because when I first started on social media, I enjoyed like the human interaction, being able to like get one up on the other guy, like debate back and forth with a human. But I noticed, not until later on in life, but I noticed that it started to become less fun. Mm-hmm. And I attribute this to the bot takeover that happened on all social media platforms, especially Reddit. But can you explain to me like where this came from? Like, why did the bots start to take over?
Well, I'll go back a little ways. This is kind of on the fly. Like, I'm just thinking of this as you're talking. So what I think maybe where it started was with sites like, say, a Twitter, or when they first came out, and there was this ability to reach a lot of people, but only if you had tons of followers, tons of likes, tons of interactions with people. And so there was a shortcut that was available. And the shortcut was hire a bot to do 5,000 likes or retweets of my content, right? So that shortcut and it really was cheap to do at the time. It was like $5, and that's like on the high end of it. You're getting tons of followers that way. And that shortcut led to, well, now I got to beat those people who are doing shortcuts. And I got to beat that with more bots, a bigger network, a network that looks more human. And continued on, and now everyone's just one-upping each other until we get nothing but dead internet.
So can you explain to our audience what the dead internet theory actually is?
If you're a podcaster or a video creator, this is the all-in-one AI video editor you've been looking for. I've been using Async since day one, and it's amazing to watch it progress into a complete powerhouse for creators. Especially for people like me who, well, can't edit for shit. Async leverages AI to give you total control over your video. You can record, edit, generate clips, add subtitles, and even dub your content in over 15 languages. Plus, it lets you upscale your footage and easily repurpose your content for different platforms. all without ever having to switch between different tools. It's truly a game changer. So if you want to streamline your workflow and make your editing process painless, check out async.com today. The link is in the description below.
Because I alluded to it, but I really want to hear it from a professional.
Sure. It's pretty simple in that there's just not real people is what that means. There's alive people, humans, who actually talk, share their opinions, and then there's bots who come and talk to each other. And that's really where I think the dead part of it comes in, is that it ends up being bots talking to bots, and you're just the reader now. You're just a watcher. You're watching these conversations unfold, thinking that you're kind of a participant, but really it's a ton of bots talking to each other and fighting each other really for that top spot.
Yeah, it's really easy to spot when you've been on the internet for as long as I have to point them out. I attribute this to like video games too. Like I used to love playing online with people, and I hated playing the internet or like playing the computer assisted things because you could always predict exactly what they're going to do. And when you're debating with another person or playing a video game with another person, there's that one-off time where they just do something completely random and you're thrown off. You have to redo your whole strategy. It becomes like a fun cat and mouse.
What games did you play?
I was big into like COD, Halo, like the original stuff.
I started with SOCOM, so similar.
CS:GO, and those were the fun times where you were actually competing against other humans, and then the bots came in. Even now, like on video games, you have that whole bot generation. People have aim bots; they have everything in the book just to get one up on each other.
Yep.
So I want to ask a little bit more about your AI. AI is a tool. How do you keep your human self while using it?
Well, if you're using it as a tool, I think just like a hammer, if you had a hammer that could pound all your nails in for you, how do you have to be the creative force of what is it going to pound, right? So you're the one starting the prompt. You're the one who's saying, well, we're going to focus on this. And that's where you become the human part of AI. And then and I kind of spoke about this the other day with someone, and we talked about how powerful it was for learning things. Like you could go to AI and really learn quickly about any topic you want, but then are you locking it in? Are you letting AI do the thinking for you? Are you going to let AI become your mind and you just become a lazy bystander? And the way I think, and one of the tips I gave them was regurgitate what they say, what AI says to you back to them to make sure you understand it. And it's similar to anything. Teaching is a great way to learn. So if you regurgitate back and teach AI what you think it's teaching you, it's going to correct you. You're going to have this experience of a back and forth that really leads to good learning.
Are you using any particular tools to help you, or are you just using the generic ones along the way?
Tools for like how I'm building Chirpper?
Yeah.
Yeah, mainly ChatGPT and Anthropic is my main builders, but I don't think I'm really using many other tools besides like architecture stuff, Cloudflare and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear how people use AI, because I'm an advanced user. Like I'm one of the 0.1% that's like heavily leveraging it, using harnesses and multiple models, infrastructure and handoffs. And just getting that was a pain for me. And I understand like the basic user doesn't have that level of understanding yet or complexity. So I'm very interested in how people build out these tools without the engineering mind. But I guess you're also an engineer, so it's a little bit harder to detail. Have you found any things that give you like a leg up, like something that you've found that really works to give you what you're looking for?
Well, the hard part about that is that there's kind of two ways working with AI really works. And there's like a really fast way is when you're building a new project. Any new project goes up way faster than it used to. And build outs are hours instead of weeks. So that it's like a 10x improvement. But then there's the legacy projects, things that already have a big code base, already have a lot of work done to it. Maybe they're multi-service architectures. And does your agent know about every service in order to make a good break, or a good amount of good code? And I find that legacy stuff is a lot harder to work on, and you have to have a really well thought out workflow for building with legacy systems.
I told my mother that she was trying to build a website. She's like, I'm using WordPress. Like, how do I do this? And I'm like, I don't use WordPress. I don't know. Ask your AI. But it becomes this game that you have to play. And it's really thinking about the structure of how you're doing it more than what you're trying to do. Do you think in the future with AI, do you think engineers become more valuable or less valuable?
Well, this is kind of jumps back to the gap that we were talking about in the beginning, is senior level becomes hugely valuable because really you have to know when it's told you something wrong. And that's kind of the hard part of it, is, or that it's going down a road where it should say build something in a certain way, and you realize because you're a senior level that it really needs to be built this way. And I've kind of seen that a few different ways. Like when you talk about database design or something like that, AI will want to make it the easiest way it can and maybe not use good database design to do it. And so you got to catch it before it does that. And in order to catch it, you kind of got to be senior level right now.
It's funny because you mentioned that it goes the easiest way. And I'm like, as an engineer, I try the easiest way all the time. I'm like just trying to make it so much easier for me to do what I'm trying to do.
But I think you might think about that in two ways. You want the easiest way, but you also want to future-proof it a little bit. You're thinking about, if I do it this way, what's the downstream effects and what's going to happen in 3 months when I have to show another developer how to work on this, or I have to change something that we built here. Is it going to work for that use case? And that's where I see the gap in AI. It doesn't really think about future. It thinks about the prompt that's sitting in front of it now and nothing else.
Do you think that's because it doesn't have enough tokens? Do you think we'll get to that point?
I can't be the only one who thinks that. So I would think, it's going to get there at some point and have that forward knowledge, that idea to look forward more. So it might definitely get there. And
my thinking on it is LLMs are not the route to do that. The way I've been defining it is, I think we need a lot of SLMs, like small language models, working in tandem, doing their own separate jobs. It's essentially like, I break it down to biology, and each one of your cells is working towards one common goal of doing one common thing in clusters as they're working together. LLMs are so fucking stupid. Sorry for the language, but they're so dumb. And even when I'm building things out, I make sure like they only have one task. They're only doing one thing, because you lose that context. And I feel like that's kind of a reflection of what's happening to humans as well, which is why like I'm very appreciative you built out this application, because as a human, we're losing trust in other humans. And I don't think that's because we're not connected. I think that's because we're not connecting with other humans in the way we're supposed to. Does that make sense?
We don't even trust that we're really connecting with other humans in the first place. Just, is it real at all? Is anything that we look at real? Is it, even if you're a human and you're posting, did you just copy and paste something from AI? And which isn't the end of the world in a lot of ways, because maybe that's what, but is this really what you think is what the real question I think is. Like, fine, it came from AI because you wanted to have it worded great. Bring it over here. Is this actually what you think?
It's funny because I'm a lyricist. I like to write song lyrics, and now I create AI music with that. But I get that question all the time. You're just pressing a button? And I'm like, no, I painstakingly wrote out these lyrics, and then I sat there for an hour or two trying to get in the right place. How do we bring back that trust?
What trust exactly? Let's narrow it down a little bit. Bring back the trust of
that it's your own creation. Not that it's just generic copy slop, as everybody likes to call it, even though I hate the word slop because they use it way too much.
I still have that trust in some ways. I still do have that trust, just maybe because of the way I use it. So I'm kind of biased to the way I do it. And I may use AI for a lot of things, and I even use AI for like making pottery, for example. Like I use it the same way that I would go to Google and do an image search and draw inspiration from things other people have done. I use AI in kind of the same way, where I just use it for inspiration. And so are you inspired by what AI did? Like, that's the question you want to say, or is it that you just copy and pasted what it did?
Do you think you can still relay your feelings across with it?
I think even when you start prompting, you're relaying your feelings across it. So it's built in from the get-go.
Yeah. So I do want to ask a little bit more about TrustChain. How are you operating that? Like, are you using some sort of blockchain mechanism or some sort of cryptography?
It's very comparable to blockchain in a lot of ways. It's not technically blockchain, but it works in a similar way where you have your private key that you take wherever you want, and that allows you the capability to access the tools of your token. But that token itself is what can tell anyone publicly who you are.
Okay, fair enough. Did you take a lot of inspiration from blockchain? Because I feel like when that came out, that was something revolutionary, and then it got swept under the rug.
Yeah, I did, but not kind of knowingly. It was more like I'm building this thing. We want to vouch humanity, and this ends up looking a lot like blockchain, but it kind of just was a coincidence type of thing. Like, the solution ended up being similar.
I saw that you won't ban people outright. How does the suppression work? Like, do you like downgrade their, like, is there like a percentage, or is there something that you can tell that you're being bad or doing things? Because that's something I feel like social media also misses, is that understanding that, hey, I've done something wrong.
Yeah. Right now, no, there's not even the idea of banning. We don't have enough people to start banning anybody.
Fair.
So we're not at that level even yet. But like I said earlier, the philosophies are there. Is a trust chain all people with the same IP address? Is a trust chain all people who are talking about a single topic? They're all upvoting just each other and no one else? Are they here commenting on each other's posts and no one else's posts? So we can get kind of that data around whether this is a bot type of behavior or if it's a more human type of behavior, where, and we might call that, we kind of lean towards a term called diversity score, where we have a trust chain here, a trust chain here, a trust chain here. When we have this topic going on up here, is this topic all from this one trust chain, or are there multiple chains all working into it? And that leads to a new thing, another problem the internet faces, and that's echo chambers. And this gives us an idea of, is this an echo chamber, or is it a diverse opinion that everyone's talking to each other civilly, and or is it all just one agenda being pushed?
How is your content being surfaced? Like, how does it come to a user?
How does it come to a user? Mainly,
like how like your algo works in terms of how does it know to give me that information?
Sure. Right now, it's mainly by trust score. So we surface the highest trust score posts first. And what that means is users who are trusted to be human, they've accumulated some invites that they've used, they've made some posts that got comments. This is leans towards you being more human because you've done these examples of human signals, we call it. And so that goes up, that increases your trust score. And once you have that high trust score, that immediately flows into all the other things you do on the site. So posting, commenting, upvoting, and we can use high trust signal accounts to give more credence to whatever else they're doing on the site.
You are really solving the problem with that a lot of people have. Like, I'm so enthralled with the idea. Where do you see this in 5 years?
If it takes off, and that's a big if this is something that people really want to use and they want to talk to other humans, that has to be proven first. Mm-hmm. And once that, I can envision a bigger picture where other sites use their Chirpper token to say, hey, I'm human, here's proof. This is another reason you should trust me on this site. And so you go to another site and they say, hey, what's your Chirpper token? And so in order to prove your humanity without saying what your identity is.
You've thought about this in more of a human identifier as opposed to just trying to like have your own application. You're looking at it as the larger problem of privacy without
that being huge. It's a pie in the sky idea. I can't say this is definitely going to happen, or anything like that. So I hope it happens. That would be amazing if it does. And super cool that we found a way to say these are humans without giving up identity. That'd be amazing.
What's your scariest outcome right now?
Scariest outcome. That's a good one. Well, that we never reach critical mass, really. That's with any social network or any kind of human interactive thing. If there's no activity, no one cares. So we got to get the activity up to a certain level before anyone would stick around or come back.
So I'm going to try and push this message out to everybody, because honestly, like, this is just, I'm excited for this because I see it. I very much see it. How do people find Chirpper? How do they get an invite?
So now this is one of the keys here is I don't just broadcast an invite to everybody. There's no like, hey, here's an invite link. It has to be human to human connection. But then as of right now, as of today, there's a way to come. You come to the site, you click one button, says, I'm human, I want in. That's going to bring you to a page that says, what's going on? And that sends a chat message directly to me personally. And I then talk to that person and give them an invite to my TrustChain. So they become part of my network and my TrustChain. At that point, they get to begin their own TrustChain and send out invites and create content and comments and that kind of thing. But I could give you invites and you could send them, and that would start a TrustChain where you could be what we call the Genesis token, where you have nobody who vouched for you because you were one of the first.
I definitely want one. I'm going to try this out. The one question I have, are you able to also control your trust network? So can you kick somebody off your chain?
Not yet, but that is a plan in the future. We have this idea of rescinding invites, which would be a huge hit to your trust score, right? Because someone who you invited, or I'm sorry, not your own trust score, would be a hit to their trust score. And what that means is we invited this person. They didn't act the way that we thought they would, but we thought they were human. Turns out they weren't. I'm taking that invite back, and now that person is effectively gone in a lot of ways. But their content, they might still be able to post, but their content wouldn't show up, and it would just be in an unfindable type of feed. But someone actually, speaking to that, I got to bring this up. Someone had an idea the other day that I was talking to, and they had this thought that we could have these high trust like feeds of people who did good content, but then it might be interesting to see what the low trust, like you could have these kind of two feeds going and what the low trust people are talking about. And that's just, it was a weird idea. I hadn't really thought about it all, but it's like,
I can see that being like the high trust people trashing on the low trust people. Yeah, I can see that being a human want at the very least. So we're just coming up to the end here. Who are you? Where can people find you? And anything else you want to leave for our audience?
Please go to chirpper.com. That's CHIRPPER.com. So it's Chirpper with 2 P's. And you're going to click on a single button to say you're human, and you're going to be talking directly to me. I answer all chats that I get. Sometimes it takes a little while because I am human. But I do get back to every single person that reaches out, and I add you to my TrustChain. And the only thing you got to tell me basically is that you're human. And I'm trusting everyone that comes to be human right now.
Perfect. And to everybody out there, I'll make sure all of the details are in the comment section or the description down below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and all the bullshit I'm supposed to tell you. And if I get a Genesis token, I will invite some people who want to reach out and actually interact with me. That would be nice. So to everybody out there, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this, and just stay weird.
Thank you.